Call the roll.
John Delarada, absent. Councilwoman McGraw. Here. Councilman Partland.
Here.
Councilwoman Weber.
Here.
Supervisor Syed.
Here. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Councilman McParland.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're now going to move on to approval of the minutes. First, we have the minutes of the May 28th, 2019 regular meeting of the town board. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'm going to make a motion to table these minutes
Okay.
and the minutes of June 20th. We really hadn't gotten the final packet until about 4 o'clock, sometime between 2 and 4 today. And obviously Councilman Delarada isn't here, so I
Okay.
hadn't reviewed them with him.
Okay,
So
so
can I
we
get a
have,
second?
I'll second that motion.
okay, and the motion is to table both.
Please.
So on the motion to table that has been seconded, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, those motions have, well, not the motion, but the minutes have been tabled.
Thank you, Supervisor.
You're welcome. Okay, next we have a presentation. We'd like to welcome Schenectady County District Attorney Robert Carney. He's going to be discussing the efforts to enhance our public safety through collaborative video surveillance. So if you would.
Want me here?
Please.
Sure.
Well, good evening, everybody. So this came about because there was an article in the paper in which I talked about some of the proposal that's currently on the floor to the county legislature to expand cameras in this year's capital budget. And so I'm happy to discuss what we do with cameras and to answer any questions that you have. To just give you a little overview of the history of them, we have been doing cameras in the city of Schenectady since about 2001. And it was something that wasn't imposed upon the community by law enforcement or my office. It came out of the Hamilton Hill Neighborhood Association, who came to us and said, you know, if we had cameras on one homeowner told me on my porch, the things that I see, you know, if it was captured and recorded, would be immensely valuable for law enforcement. So we would feel safer as a community if we had cameras. So with that, we started a very primitive network. The first 7 cameras we had were on Time Warner cable. And, you know, like cable at that time, the images were not good. They were pixelated every time the camera moved. We had monthly cable bills that we had to pay. And we realized that to move this forward, but even with what we had, I should say, we got some results. You know, we were able to use images that were captured in criminal cases, both the police department for investigations and my office for using it as evidence for prosecution. But to take this forward, we needed to go digital, and wireless. And that's when we started, and we got a grant from the Division of Criminal Justice Services. I think it was about $250,000 to take those first 7 cameras and make them into a wireless infrastructure. And the way it works is basically it records. The images are then broadcast through a wireless network captured by antennas, coming back to the county office building where we have our servers, and then feeding the servers now to our dispatch center. The old dispatch area of the Schenectady Police Department has now become a emergency operations center and camera room. So we have banks of screens there where we play all the images, and of course they're recorded on the servers. The images are recorded for about 30 days, and then the servers are re-recorded over. During that time, if law enforcement wants to see something that occurred within the range of a camera, they look at the archived images, and if there's something significant, we download those images and preserve them. Now, from the beginning, of course, we were concerned about privacy rights. The cameras only record what happens in public spaces. They only see what a witness would see. If a witness was standing where the camera was, or what happens in the roadway, what happens in the sidewalk. And that's all that they record. And we're very strict about what we use the cameras for. We only use them for law enforcement purposes, for criminal investigations or vehicle and traffic investigations. We don't ever use them for any other private interest at all. We certainly don't want attorneys saying, involved in divorce litigation to try to use the infrastructure to get an edge in a civil case. And the courts have always backed us up in that. Now, if we record something for a criminal investigation or prosecution, which then becomes useful in a civil case, for instance, if we capture a motor vehicle accident and we preserve that, we record that, then of course those images would also be available pursuant to a subpoena in a subsequent civil case. But it's all recorded over in 30 days. So if we don't capture something within 30 days, we don't, then of course it's lost. We have found that the cameras are also very useful to augment police operations for officer safety. If we know that something is occurring, we hear in dispatch that crime is in progress, we can get on the camera system and first of all see what is happening there, but also alert the responding officer what they're likely to encounter when they arrive at the scene. That's very useful. We have used them to help us with undercover drug investigations. When you're actually operating the cameras, and we have a variety of cameras, but some of them are point, tilt, and zoom cameras, which can actually, when you're operating them and using the zoom features, can read license plates from 3 to 4 blocks away. So if you have officers or you have undercover confidential informants or officers making, for instance, narcotics transactions in the street, you can capture images of that, which that whatever occurs, which would make a case pretty much bulletproof, where defense attorneys would look at the images and just plead guilty because there would be no point in going to trial. We can zero in on hand-to-hand sales where you can see the money change hands in the drugs. That tends to then discourage that activity where cameras are, which is also very useful. I remember one of the arguments we had about the camera system early on was, well, does this just displace crime? In other words, if there's a camera here, will they go to another area? And there's some studies that show that there is some minimal effect of that. But the reality is there's a reason the crimes were occurring in that particular space where you've put the cameras in the first place, because that's an optimum place for that. And the place around the corner is not. So you're going to lose, even if there is some displacement, you're going to lose that. Also, cameras tend to blend into the environment, so people forget that they're there. Well, I can't tell you how many hundreds of cases we've solved with cameras, including homicides, murder cases, where we've been able to capture a license plate of the car carrying the murderers. They've slowed down to go through an intersection, and our high definition camera has been able to read the plate. Actual shootings that have taken place on cameras. We've had maybe 4 or 5 homicides that have occurred on cameras. We had a case once where one of my investigators, Rick Voris, who's actually his title is Chief Technical Resource Officer, but he's the guy that, working with Jennifer Assini from my office, really developed this network. Jen is the bureau chief in charge of it. But Rick is the expert on the cameras. And he received a call that there was a bank robbery that had taken place on the Citizens Bank on State Street. And he was outside of the camera room. He was about 20 minutes behind the happening of the event. So he came back to the camera room and got on the cameras. And he was given a description of a man wearing, I think it was a blue shirt and jeans and a baseball cap and glasses. And so he knew there was a camera in the Metroplex lot on Barrett Street, Clinton Street, right down around the corner from the bank. So he went to the time of the call, looked it up, saw a guy matching that description walking into the parking lot. And as soon as he got to the edge of the parking lot, he started to run. So he followed him. And of course, we have so many cameras downtown that we can track pedestrian traffic. So he went on the walkway to J Street. We had a camera on the walkway, showed him going through. We had a camera on J Street, showed him there. He decided to go to the opposite walkway on the other side of J Street, which leads to the back of the YMCA. He went down that walkway, and at the end of the walkway, he looked around and he went into a little alcove area, and he proceeded to change his clothes. He took off the baseball hat and the glasses, and he took off his shirt, his blue shirt underneath. He had a coral shirt. He unsnapped his pants. I mean, that literally, he had pants with snaps on them. Snapped them, stuffed them in the bag, revealing white shorts underneath. Put all this stuff in the bag and then went back to the J Street walkway, or through the walkway to the J Street pedestrian mall. Now, we know this because there's a camera directly overhead when he did this change of clothes. So then he walked across State Street. He went into Proctor's, came outside of the back of Proctor's. We saw him sitting on a bench back there counting his money. Then he walked down Broadway. He took a right on Edison Avenue. We had a camera there, saw him going there. And then we didn't have cameras below that. But by this time, Rick was able to get on the radio and tell police that you should look for him with this new description in the area of below Erie Boulevard off State Street. Officers went to the Greyhound station and they caught him when he was 12 minutes away from boarding a bus to get back to Syracuse, where he was from. He was a persistent career bank robber who we never would have caught if we hadn't had the cameras, which totally solved the case. And as a result, we were able to prosecute and convict him, and he is doing a life sentence because of the number of bank robberies that he's committed during his career. So that's an overview. What we're talking about in Niskayuna, in fact, we have a camera in Niskayuna. We've had a camera in Niskayuna for close to 10 years, I think, which is on State Street across from the bus stop. And that was a camera that was financed by CDTA. When they did their Bus Plus route, they wanted to put cameras all the way up State Street in Schenectady, corresponding to where their Bus Plus stops were. So they paid for that camera, and we've had it there for a while. And it's been useful to the Niskayuna Police. This year, I'm asking the county legislature to consider a $240,000 capital budget expansion. Part of that is $35,000 to build from that location to do 3 more cameras, and actually there will be 360-degree cameras so that each camera will have 4 cameras capturing each of the 4 directions in an intersection. And I think we're looking at State and Balltown, and then Balltown and Mansion Boulevard, and then a repeater at Balltown and Shirley, and then the final camera to Balltown and Console. And we think that the cost of that would be $35,000. We're also seeking to put an antenna up on the water tower, which is in the Bevis Hill, which will help us get signals to the north part, from the north part of the city back to downtown and back to the servers at the county office building. And that, if that happens, that could allow for much more expansion in Niskayuna if we wanted to do it. Now, in the city of Schenectady, we mostly, of course, analyze placement of cameras based on corresponding to high crime areas and where they'd be most useful. And in the downtown area, slightly different. It's more of a security function to protect, the commercial traffic and business community and all the people that come downtown. But in the neighborhoods, Hamilton Hills, Central State Street, Mont Pleasant, there are a lot of cameras because of the corresponding amount of crime that occurs there. In Niskayuna, it's a different situation. We're mainly looking at traffic corridors. So I think the most use of this stuff will be for traffic enforcement. If there are accidents that occur that the police want to view the cameras, that would be useful. You're not going to have a lot of pedestrian. You're going to have some because you have commercial, but we're not really in the parking lots. We're on the streets. So I think it will be most useful for traffic issues. And occasionally, we might have a situation where we're trying to track a vehicle. Say a vehicle is involved in some incident in Schenectady and it goes up State Street, and we might want to see whether it goes, continues eastward to Albany or goes north on Balltown. So that stuff could be useful. I know the police. So this request came out of a discussion not directly with you guys, but with the police department that thought that this would be useful to them. It will be less useful to identify people that are doing things. I can't imagine that there'd be too many occasions where we would look to identify an individual or be able to but certainly vehicles would be something that we could learn something about. So that's an overview, and I'd be happy to take any questions that you guys have.
Well, Mr. District Attorney, thank you very much for accepting my invitation to be here tonight. When we first put the cameras on State Street, I was in that meeting. You pulled up a laptop, you gave us real time. We were able to look at that, the previous supervisor and I, and it was just very impressive. And you could really see how meaningful it is. And
Quality of the images have gotten spectacular.
I can't even imagine since then. And this was in the very beginning when you first put State Street. So I just have some questions in all of this as it's played out. Fundamentally, is it a lot different from plate readers in police cars? I mean, because you're really just looking at what's in the public space, what's out there in terms of privacy, in terms of what you're not going up in somebody's apartment window, right? You're just.
We're not looking into any private residences. Obviously, we're just focused on the intersection, the streets, the sidewalks, whatever. The way we look at it is it's, if there was a witness standing there and saw something, what is the camera? What's the function being performed by camera? It's exactly that. It's recording what a witness would have seen and is privileged to see because, we don't have privacy rights for what we do in public spaces.
And you talked about Rick. Is Rick, some of it, what you're seeing, is that real time? Or is it all recorded and it's a couple of minutes lag?
We've thought about,
what is he watching when he's sitting in his room?
He's mostly researching archived images. Unless we're doing an ongoing police operation and we have reason to get on the cameras and see what's going on, we're not in real time monitoring what is happening in it, because I didn't tell you this, but we have 390 cameras right now. So what do you look at? If you're looking at one, you're missing 389. So it's just not a productive use of time.
And so moving forward, obviously you've accomplished a lot with these. You seem very proud of them. I think we're pleased with what's already gone on the State Street with the State Street camera. It's been very helpful for us in an area that is a little bit on the outskirts of town, literally, right, for us. So it gives us another set of eyes. It gives us some more knowledge about what's happening. Moving forward, what is your goal in terms of the whole county or where you see these moving forward?
We're also asking, based on discussions that I had with the mayor of the village of Scotia. So we're looking to go across the Western Gateway Bridge into village of Scotia and put some cameras on Mohawk Avenue. That will be, other than that one camera that's in Niskuna, that would be our first venture along with this into outside the city of Schenectady. Interestingly, we also had a proposal from the supervisor of the town of Duanesburg, who's interested in having a camera at the intersection of Route 7 and 20, where that Stewart's is.
Oh, sure.
We can't connect that with a network, but there are new technologies that we're looking at, and which might be applicable anywhere, where we can do a 4G wireless standalone and interface it with our network. And you would have to pay like $40 a month, but that's not an onerous cost to build into, a camera for 3 years. So, that's a little less than or a little more than our maintenance cost would be. But ultimately, if this is an experiment that you folks think is worthwhile for the town, I think continuing on the Balltown corridor to the town center and the high school and in the Knott Street corridor makes a lot of sense. Now, we have cameras on Knott Street only as far as Ellis Hospital. So, but that is a corridor. The Knott Street corridor would be an important corridor to think and to develop in, because we certainly have, again, that's another entrance and egress to the city of Schenectady. And with an antenna on the water tower, we're going to be able to expand in that direction if that's something you're interested in. Now, I'm asking the county to do part of this, but you guys would certainly, if you wanted to partner with us and go down the route of doing that expansion, we'd certainly work with you. The town of Rotterdam, interestingly, has developed their own system
Does it connect to yours? Bob?
What they did, they used our vendor. So they have
Okay.
the exact same system, but they did it in-house.
Mhm.
And they have the ability to look at our stuff and we can look at their stuff. So it was wisely done that way, even though they did it themselves. They did it in a way that's totally compatible with our system.
That's all I have.
I had a question. Do you foresee this integrating with smart streetlights, for instance? So I know the city is venturing into that territory with outfitting cameras in their streetlights as well.
Sorry about that.
Mhm.
The smart city stuff is an entirely separate operation. The mayor has developed. Right now, it really has. They're not using it for any criminal law or justice or law enforcement purpose. They're doing stuff like smart lighting and that sort of thing. Of course, as we go forward, it makes some sense. We have one of the technologies that has we've advanced with is the ability to use low light cameras. Some of our neighborhoods in Schenectady have really low light, and our first and second and third generation cameras would only capture color images during the day, but in low light they would go to black and white. With the new low light cameras, it's a much better image, and it's color images all the way around. So you can sort of use them in conjunction or figure out where, if you have the smart city lighting stuff, what kind of camera do you really need in that vicinity? It's not clear to me where the city is going with that. But it is really a city operation. This is really a county operation.
Sure.
There is something that you sent me, an interesting article from Detroit, and where there was concern about privacy rights and using facial recognition technology. And I know that there are places that have used cameras to do vehicle and traffic enforcement. We don't do either of those things. The problem with vehicle and traffic, and we've used license plate readers, and you know the license plate of somebody who's wanted for something. The idea is you pull them over and you can make an arrest. I think the problem with that, there's several problems with that, but the biggest problem is that's only as good as your data. So if you think there's a warrant out for somebody and a court has canceled the warrant, and then you're stopping somebody and you're acting on the assumption that your data in the system is still accurate, I think it's a big risk civilly, and I think that's a step further than we'd want to go. Facial recognition, we don't have that technology. I am aware of a couple of cases where still photographs that we've taken of people who have committed crimes, we have sent those images to either the New York State Investigation Center, NICIC, run by the state police, or the Capital District Crime Analysis Center, and they do use some facial recognition, but only to identify somebody whose image has been captured. But we don't have that in-house, and we wouldn't plan to do that.
Thank you for your time and being here. I have a few questions. The first is, we have a lot of speed complaints in various areas across the town. Can these cameras judge speed at all?
No, we don't
No.
do that with them.
Okay, so they can't judge whether an area.
No,
is
but
speed.
if there was a
lot of
complaint
speeding.
about somebody speeding, and the police could go to that to the camera, look at that vehicle, try to identify the vehicle, and then maybe do a little bit of surveillance. You wouldn't be able to issue a ticket
Right.
for what you saw, but you'd have an idea that you might be looking for somebody who's not obeying the vehicle and traffic laws.
Okay, how about gridlock? We have a significant amount of gridlock at Route 7 and Balltown. I know that's not an area that you mentioned for the first round of cameras, but that's an area around rush hour where people are trying to get through the intersection and before the light turns, and they completely end up blocking the intersection. So when the light changes, the people going in the other direction can't get through at all. Have cameras ever been used in that circumstance?
No, not to my knowledge.
Maybe the knowledge that there is a camera there might keep people from going through the intersection and trying to kind of force their way into a roadway where there's no space.
Yeah, I know. I think I've been in some of those.
Situations, but there isn't there. Okay. My next question is, who in law enforcement has the ability to review the footage? Is it any police officer or only certain ones?
It's a good question. We have a policy that anybody who wants to go to the camera room and use it for follow-up on an investigation has to sign a policy agreement, understanding the rules of the camera system, what they can and can't be used for. So we have some protection that way. And then they usually, and we also say, and you can't download any images. You have to go to one of the two trained people. We also have Ed Ritz, who's a retired Schenectady police investigator, who's now working for my office in the camera room. And he's one of the best on the cameras too. So he and Rick would do all the downloading and the preservation of the images. And then that's logged.
Okay, so there's some privacy protection there that people can't go
We
in there
can
and
we can
fish.
track who it was, preserve that image.
Okay, thank you very much.
And they have agreed to the policies, which is that they can only be used for purposes of criminal investigation.
Okay,
We don't
Thank-
want a police officer coming in and looking at the cameras for any, non-legitimate law enforcement reason.
right. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, District Attorney Charney, for coming. One point I want to make that you did say is that our department has already used these cameras in investigations for the town of Niskayuna. Some of the cameras weren't even in the town. Maybe someone had done something in the town and fled to the city, and they can track those movements, just like you gave in your example.
We use the cameras in connection with the homicide investigation that occurred at the, what is it called? The apartment complex.
Hillcrest.
Hillcrest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, because, they were useful to track the movements of vehicles that we thought were driven by people that had some knowledge of what happened.
Yes, so they were very useful in that investigation. And I want
Yep.
to thank you and your office for all the assistance you gave our department with that. There's a new thing coming out about bus cameras and care and custody of the footage from those. And I assume that is sort of what you had spoken about with Councilwoman Weber's question about the care and custody of the data that you get and the video that you get. Do you foresee any laws changing in that regard?
On bus cameras, I know we've used footage captured by the CDTA buses, not only of what happens on the bus, but also on, cameras that are mounted in the front of the bus, and they've been useful in criminal investigations.
Now they're going to have school bus cameras.
Oh,
at
the school
same
bus.
Time.
Yeah, well, I'm sure as we go forward, that stuff, particularly, you're talking about the people that pass, stop school buses, disregard that, yeah. Well, right now, we're not using our cameras for any sort of ongoing vehicle and traffic enforcement. But that kind of thing with school bus cameras, that's probably a different thing that we take a look at.
Thank you.
This was fantastic. Thank you very much for all your time. We really do appreciate it
My
and
pleasure.
everything that you've done with us over the years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we're now going to move on to privilege of the floor. Privilege of the floor is now open. If anyone would like to speak, please approach the lectern, state your name and address for the record.
Ben Mastriani, 1549 Wyoming Avenue. I've been here a couple of times about the traffic. It's getting worse. I've been there for 5 years, and 4 years ago, Officer McManus was nice enough to do a report on traffic coming back and forth. Back then, it was, I think, 545 cars a day. And I know it's probably the smallest street in the town. I also had a FOIL report done of how many traffic tickets were issued on Wyoming, and that's a
I
big
saw that.
zero. It's unbelievable, the traffic that swings from Baker, turning, both ways. I can name you cars with Vermont license plate, a silver Nissan throwing stuff out of the window, and the house to the left of me, constantly speeding, motorcycles going by, shaking the windows. I did have an email with Officer Stevens and Sergeant McManus about the speed limit sign. And by the way, the one that's over near the co-op now, when I came here tonight, it wasn't working. But he said he would get there with it because it's being used in different spots. And I know they're buried and overworked and all that, but it hasn't gotten there yet. And also at the last meeting, I was told we don't do standing electronic signs that are permanent. And now we do on Dean Street. So
Those are the ones he's talking about that would move over to Wyoming. They're not standalone they're not going to stay there permanently.
the ones on Dean aren't staying there permanently.
They're not. They are
Could I
signs
ask
that
you
we
why?
purchased through the highway committee, the highway department, and the intention of them is to move them about town.
What is it, red tape that doesn't allow signs to be put permanently or?
These are our first ones in the town, so we're just trying to figure out
Because-
how best to use them. This was our very first purchase of them.
Because they work. In Mechanicville County, a lot of places I go slow.
I'm glad to
down.
hear you say that because
They
I
really
believe
do.
that too.
But I guess what I'm asking is, who do I follow up with? It's been 5 years and it just keeps getting worse.
Well, you're welcome to come to our police and public safety meeting. It's September 3rd, 8 a.m. here at Town Hall. We have done traffic studies on Wyoming, and we continue to monitor the speed there. I'm not certain when the last one that we did was, but I will find that out.
When are the electronic signs going to be put that I was told are eventually going to get there?
We don't have them on a specific schedule right now.
We just got them within the last month. I mean, you see them, right? So that
Yeah.
we just got them.
Yeah. I mean, I have video. I've seen people pushing the baby carriage move out of the way because
Sure.
the way it swings.
Yep.
It's pitch dark over in the corner. It's been 5 years now and it's the same thing. So follow up at the meeting.
Sure.
Okay. And I don't know why, if it's funding, like I said, I know it's the smallest street in town. I know it connects to Schenectady. There hasn't been a speeding ticket on that street. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's people speeding every time I go to pull out of the driveway. So I hope something happens with it. I'll try to go to the meeting if
Sure.
I'm not
We,
at work.
we put it on our meeting, every meeting that we have, we talk about citizen issues in specific streets when residents do give us information, and we do the best we can with the enforcement, with.
No, I know the guys do,
that we
the girls
have.
do the best they can, but I'm just saying, I keep coming here and it keeps happening, and now I can tell you that the amount of traffic's increased.
Sure.
I'm assuming from the casino. I mean, I never can pull out a driveway without having to wait,
It's all over the town.
Lot
Lot
Yeah, but it's
more
excessive
traffic.
on Wyoming. I can go next door to Granite and you can walk and go there, probably 3 cars a day go by there.
Mhm.
So it's 8 o'clock here,
Yes, upstairs.
upstairs?
Schaefer room, yep,
Okay,
September 3rd.
okay.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Matt Cutler, 1405 Fox Hollow Road, and I'm here tonight as the chair of the town's ethics board. I speak to you, the town council, but my community comments are really directed for the people behind me and for the people in the community. Since our formation a little over a year ago, the members of our group have taken our job very seriously to ensure the creation of proper protocols and procedures to ensure that town employees, officers, and members of the town's various boards operate in accordance with the town's ethics code. We offer our advisory opinion with respect to the interpretation or the application of that document. And on the town's webpage, there's a copy of that document as well as the complaint form, and we're working to get it better accessible. Now, I want to remind the residents of Niskayuna that all initial complaints and concerns are kept confidentially by the board, and we ask those filing complaints to do the same. Please know that when a complaint is pending, it does not mean that the board has found merit in allegations. We're volunteers. It means we just are in the process of looking through the complaints. And we respectfully encourage people, especially those filling out the complaints, from referring to town officials, employees, or committee members as one under investigation for ethics violations that they filed. We also implore people not to use the ethics board as a platform to further one's personal political agenda or to seek to damage someone's reputation for personal motivations. It should only be used for the purpose of reporting violations that are in accordance with the stated code. Now, we're volunteers and we represent various political party affiliations, but we transcend that and move beyond the political realm to be objective and prudent in our work. So I encourage our town members and all people involved to support us by keeping things confidential and to be prudent in how they report and not to use it for personal grudges. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Robert Saltzman, 2171 McClellan Street. Just a quick comment from the previous speaker. I live a few feet away from Dean, and I believe those signs are actually having anecdotally a positive impact. So I'm encouraging the
Thank
town
you.
and the Public Safety Committee to consider how they're valuable.
Excuse me, Mr. Saltzman?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't have to line up. We promise we're going to hear all of you. If you want to sit, Jeff, you don't have to line up. I'm sorry. You can if you want. I'm not, but I just don't want to inconvenience you or make you uncomfortable. Thank you, Mr. Saltzman.
I didn't realize.
You certainly didn't.
The second thing, just again, anecdotally, I know you have an item on your agenda for the Historical Committee, and I encourage you to pass that. I'm here tonight to speak very briefly about the recent years in which the recycling and waste program in the town of Niskayuna provided the shredding of confidential documents. And my understanding is it was done with a contract with Prettles in Schenectady. It's been a while since Prettles has gotten out of that business, and they don't offer it. As a result, it hasn't been offered here in the town for a bit of time. If you go down to
No.
the waste center, they
Had it
don't
last-
accept.
Last year, we had a recycling day.
I'm talking about the service at the waste center every day that it's open,
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
as distinguished from the recycling days.
Mhm.
So that's the focus of this. I understand that the town is now negotiating or well past negotiating with a new vendor to provide that service of confidential shredding. And I think that it's important to note, and I'm encouraging that to be considered and passed. Recycling, as you all know, is becoming incredibly more challenging. You would think in this day and age it would be less.
It's not. It's more expensive and it's harder. Absolutely.
It's harder in every type. And then that trickles down to all of us as responsible citizens who are trying to figure out what to do with everything that we have in this society of expendable items. So it's more important. Confidential shredding is an element of that adds a whole new dimension. And I would offer that we currently think mostly of our data exposure. But the fact is that paper documents come in and out of our homes every day, and we don't know what to do with them. And I know people are probably not disposing of some of those things in responsible ways, like burning them and whatever. But I'm sure you all can agree that the risk of personal and business and financial exposure is very high when documents are put in irresponsibly. So I would just point that out. And again, I think it's obvious. So what I'm asking is the town to approve from a functional and financially responsible point of view, an appropriate firm. It was supposed to, my understanding is supposed to have been done last May, and I don't know what the delay has been. I haven't kept up with it. I would also encourage this to be done as it always has been done, with no additional expense to the taxpayers on a per disposal basis at the waste treatment facility. It has also not been an additional expense when it's done on the recycling days. And then I would encourage those days to continue. I know reshredding has been, I didn't think that constituents knew it. I didn't realize that when someone asked me for the bag of my material, I had a difficult time walking away from that until I realized I watched it being
Go in.
shredded.
Yeah.
And that's a very important factor. And then finally, an improvement in the web representation of waste and recycling that
Yeah,
captures
absolutely.
this along with
Yeah.
everything else. Thank you for your time.
Thank
Matt,
you.
Do you want to just update him? Okay, we want to go outside and, this is something our Public Works Committee has been working on for months, and our town engineer, head of Public Works, is going to just update you as to where exactly we are on this. But it'll be a minimal, if there's any cost to it, it'll be minimal cents, 25 cents or something. That gentleman in the check shirt just walked outside to update you. Yes, this is the kind of personal service you get here. Hi there, Silver.
Hi. So, Hello, my name is Greta Merrill. I'm a Girl Scout cadet in Troop 2351, and I'm working towards my Silver Award. The goal of my project is to improve pedestrian safety in Niskayuna and have crosswalks installed at the public service facilities, especially between Town Hall and the Niskayuna Branch Library. I chose this project because I love to visit the library, and I live on the southeast side of Town Hall when going from that entrance. And not having a crosswalk there makes it difficult and potentially unsafe for me and other members of this community. I researched about crosswalk conditions in Niskayuna, and I learned about the 2016 Complete Streets Committee recommendation that a crosswalk be installed heading towards the library. Since no crosswalk had been put in the spring of 2018, I created a petition, received 120 signatures in support of the project during Niska Day. I then attended a public safety committee in June 2018, where I handed in the petition and gave a speech why a crosswalk there would be beneficial. I resumed the project in the spring of 2019 with Supervisor Saeed as my project advisor. I began to research laws pertaining to crosswalks in our town code and discovered there were only 2 mentions of them in the entire town code, neither of which involved where crosswalks should be located. I learned that in section 220-48.1, it states that the purpose of the town center overlay district is to develop an identifiable center of the town of Niskayuna, with the town hall and Niskayuna Branch Library as its nucleus. That's hard to accomplish when you can't easily access it from all centers of the town. Also, in the Niskayuna comprehensive plans, it mentions improved accessibility to public places, parks, and recreation sites. It also specifically states, since the opening of Town Hall in 1994 and addition of the Town Center District, the Balltown Road, Knott Street area has become an active pedestrian and bicycle traffic generator. The town continues to look at providing safe and easy access to the town center from all areas of the town, specifically the areas from the south and west where Troy Road, State Street, and Balltown Road present particular obstacles. The code addresses sidewalks, but I realized there are no laws specifically geared towards the maintenance of crosswalks. While creating a pedestrian environment is mentioned in our town code frequently, there's no section, again, requiring where crosswalks should be placed. To make this proposal manageable for the town, I focused on access to town hall, the library, and the post office. I researched how to propose a resolution in order to amend the town code, as well as the zoning code for sections that include the library. I looked at other resolutions that were passed, such as the resolution implicating the complete street policy. My draft resolution uses language already existing in the town code. To amend the zoning code, our town code says we have to come through the planning board, and there's also, I'd like to amend section 2 general legislation, so that's why I'm here before you tonight. And I'd like to propose amendments to section 20.4 of the town code, definitions, as well as section 20-48.5, requiring crosswalks to public service facilities, such as libraries, post offices, and town hall. I'd also like to amend section 185, general legislation, to include laws for the maintenance of crosswalks. Improving the town code in this way would allow Niskayuna to be more pedestrian friendly and improve the pedestrian experience in Niskayuna. It would also allow the library to be more accessible by people that live on the southeast side of Town Hall, and even encourage people from Old Niskayuna to walk to the library. I've met with Mrs. Saeed and Mrs. Kim, and they both have copies of my draft resolution, and I have a copy if you'd like one tonight. So thanks for your consideration.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lorene Zabin, 2455 Brookshire Drive. I'm here to address the resolution 2019-230, and it has to do with the boundaries of Metroplex. Metroplex, as you know, was the brainchild of Neil Golub and Roger Hall for the benefit of the city of Schenectady, and it did a wonderful job. Obviously, they're still working at it. Now, Niskayuna, the wealthiest town in the 5 towns of Schenectady County, has entertained a motion to have Metroplex increase its boundaries. I don't know quite how that relationship came about, to take care of what I find an extremely insulting definition of our abandoned homes, which are called zombie homes. I don't think that really befits Niskayuna. Now, I have tried on several occasions to find out where all these 19 despicable houses, abandoned houses, are located. Well, we know of one very prominent one, and I think we kind of enjoy seeing that old house on Troy Road. But there was a time that Niskiuna took care of its own problems. And when I was involved in town hall, which was many years ago, I can't remember one neighbor complaining they couldn't have a cookout or a party or whatever because somebody's grass was bothering them. The town at the time was very thoughtful. The town labor department, we didn't have a garden department at the time, but we had a highway department. They took care of the cutting and boarding up of any broken windows. And our police were constantly on their routine tours of the town, seeking any kind of vandalism that might be occurring. Now, as you all or may not know, that the income from what it cost the town taxpayers to take care of these properties was put on the county. The county paid the taxes on those properties. We never lost money on them. And when the property was either sold or demolished or reclaimed, whatever, we were reimbursed for any funds that we expended as the town. And I thought that was a really good idea. It was a way of handling something immediately and not letting it get to be this zombie condition, which I do think is, again, very insulting. I think sometimes we get over-enthused about what we want. Metroplex has a huge funding from the county taxes, from the state, and I don't really want them coming into Niskiuna with bringing some of their ideas as to what's going to make us greater, bigger, more commercial, especially in areas designated to be more of residential areas. Let me finish up here. I do think that Niskiuna is a very unique town, as you know. I've lived here a long time and seen many changes, many wonderful changes, and some not so wonderful. But I think when we start to take neighborhoods and tear them down and not help them, is not speaking well of who we are. And I would wish that you would reconsider having Metroplex, which was designated for the city. And I think they did a great job. They probably have more properties to manage and more businesses to help get along. Of course, I have noticed that Metroplex does have some very, I would say, familiar clients. As you know, I believe that they've done a good job in building up, and we've all benefited from it. Let me see. Now, the other thing I want to tell you is, I think that's all for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tara Forshaw. I live at 1098 Regent on the southeast corner of Regent and Plum. Every time it rains, it floods my garage, my driveway, and basically full complete lawn. On this last flooding that we had, I believe you.
Yep. Are you in the White House?
Yes.
Yep.
The pillars.
I was there. I saw you out in the yard. Yep.
Yeah, it's eroding our soil. It ends up in our garage with standing water every time. And every time we have to get out there with a shout back
know.
and
I know.
clean it up. It stinks. It's disgusting. My wood.
I know it's gone into your driveway, your garage, and we've tried to do
It's a
some things.
river.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's at the point where it's eroding our actual seals now, and it's actually working its way to where our house has settled 2 times from the major storm, 5 years ago, to now This last one, we're seeing more and more cracks in the house. We're just getting so much water that goes around and through. Last time it was almost like a river, which has,
Sure.
I mean, it was so much.
Last weekend was extraordinary,
Yeah, it
but
was-
that's no excuse. I'm
Yeah.
well aware of what's going on over there. I can't leave here, but maybe the same guy who's outside in the check shirt, he knows what's going on. Ray Smith is somewhere here, but we have somewhat of a plan. I don't know if.
And that was actually my question because. there's a
Mr.
lot of
Apkarian,
markings.
I got back to Mr. Apkarian because he had sent me multiple texts that night, and that's why I was there the next morning. But I had been there a number of times before, and I don't know if your neighbors have told you that. So we have a little bit of a plan of trying to address the immediate issues and then doing some drainage studies and that. We're going to lay some new pipe. We're going to do more. I think, I hope you can say that in recent years, we've done some things as it relates to stopping the flow or kind of minimizing the flow, and that has helped
Yes.
somewhat. At least Brian has said that.
You did put a new apron
Yeah.
on our.
And we've
driveway.
done some things, restrictor plates is what we call them, within the drainage system itself. So we've done a few things. We're going to do more of that. And then we're going to try to undergo some sort of drainage study for over there. It's tough because it's like this,
Yeah,
but
we're
we're,
Orleans of Niskuna.
I don't want to see that.
My one question, and I will discuss that with him too, but.
That's
there's
pretty
a
much
lot
it.
of-
He's not going to say anything different, but yeah.
Okay, the markings on the road, which I'm grateful
Yes.
for, because that obviously means you're gonna do something, but they're not in front of my house.
They're
So-
down on the corner
Yeah,
of
so
Regent
my
and
question
Myron.
is,
Yep.
Does that mean you're not?
No.
finishing?
So those markings are there from us, and they're also there from the state to say that we can dig there. And we're going to try to add an additional pipe right now at the corner. Everyone, are you enjoying this? At the corner of Regent and Myron, it goes like this. The pipes go at a
Yes,
90-degree angle.
ours. It's an L.
So we're going to try to do a diagonal pipe to help in addition. But they're like that. Your pipes are like that
Yes.
as well?
The
Okay,
little-
we'll look at those. I was not made aware of those. I was only made aware of
Which
those
is
other ones.
where it starts to overflow, which is
Sure.
where
Okay.
the problem starts.
I will be there.
Okay.
You already know. I know how to find it.
All right.
I'm sorry you had to come out for this, but I very much appreciate hearing from you.
My name is Roy Farrell. I'm on 2115 Plum Street. I live diagonally
Yeah.
across from those guys. You answered a lot of the questions. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I do, however, have a question. During the flood, my car got flooded. It was inside the car. So that's at the shop being looked at right now.
Are you the Corvette?
No, I got the
Oh,
most-
you have there was
I have
more
the
than one car that was flooded? Okay. Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I just wanted to make known that it was flooded, okay?
I didn't know about your car. I knew about the
Okay.
other car, so, okay.
Okay, cool. My other question I have is, with all these floods that we have, I am starting to get some respiratory problems. I'm getting continuous nosebleeds in the morning and at night. And I'm wondering, is there any way that you can come through and sweep the streets and get some of that debris off the roads so it's not flying in the air?
Mr. Farrell, I'll find out the answer to that. I know we are mandated to do it a couple of times a year, but if we have the staff, I will find out and I will get back to you. How's that?
Yeah, because it's not really helping me anymore.
That's a fair question.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jeff Corbin. I live at 1453 Via Del Mar, and I'm here to support the community choice aggregation authorizing legislation that you're going to consider later this evening. I'm really excited that Niskuna is poised to join several other cities and towns in our region to establish this aggregation because frankly, there is no other thing that Niskuna and that our residents can be part of that would do more to combat climate change than outside of federal legislation than to form a clean energy CCA. So I'm really excited that you're considering this important step, but I also just want to reiterate for yourselves and for anybody who's listening and isn't sure about this, that there are still several circuit breakers along the way in the course of the actual implementation of a community choice aggregation group. You'll have a chance to choose an administrator, to solicit contracts and actually look at those contracts in order to make sure that not only are the clean energy benefits actually coming out of what you expect, but also that it'll come at a price that is at or below what National Grid is offering so as to protect your residents. But I just want to thank you for considering and continuing to move forward with this and the discussion I've had with most of you on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. You're being modest because you're the one who educated all of us. You brought it to me initially, and we are so pleased with our partnership with you, with the folks that you are bringing in throughout the Capital Region and throughout the state to make resources to us. So thank you very much,
Well,
Jeff,
thank
for
many of
everything
you
you've done for
the
everyone.
work that you've done and showing up and learning more about it. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rosalind Lind. I live at 1353 Railroad, and I've lived there for about 2 years, new to this area. I would just like to mention the obstruction of vision at intersections around my home. Bushes and shrubs that I don't think should be there, in some cases obscuring a stop sign. And I don't know whether y'all have any means of addressing it, but I would appreciate it if you would all think about it.
Which specific intersections?
Well, if you take a look at Waymer Lane, both ends between, let's say, Ruffner and Rao, you'll find two prime examples. Because there are no sidewalks, people use the roads to stroll their children and all that. You cannot see someone with a stroller with little children in it. I know because it happened to me, when you come up to some of those intersections. And I really don't think those are the only two intersections, but I think it's an issue for the town.
Sure.
Thank
Yeah, we'll
you.
take a look at those.
Thank you.
Thanks.
My name is Robert Hess. I live at 117 Comanche Trail. I'd like to commend the board on the move to put the videos from this meeting onto the Niskayuna YouTube channel. It works really well. It makes it much easier for the public to stay informed. And using the Niskayuna YouTube site, I was able to watch the town board's meeting, which took place on July 23rd. I'd like to respond to Councilwoman Weber's comments on the public's right to speak at privilege of the floor. In her comments, Councilwoman Weber expressed her dismay and disappointment at how political and personal some of the public comments had become. Councilwoman Weber also stated that when I come in here, I'm not a political person. It is to focus on government work. In light of this board's conduct over the last year and a half, I don't know how you can say that. It's common knowledge that the Democrats and the town board meet before the town board meetings to strategize on votes and to coordinate your comments. These private meetings are not illegal because they fall within the political caucus exception to the Open Meetings Law. But let's at least admit that if a quorum of the board has already decided in a private meeting in this building how you're going to vote as a group, then the government work has already been done, and this public meeting is only about politics. I readily acknowledge that sometimes the comments made at privilege of the floor are personal. But to the extent the comments are personal, they're an expression of our frustration with this board. We're frustrated that the real issues of local government take a back seat to political issues like the salary for the supervisor's confidential secretary, like creating new duties for the town historian, and even manipulating what public comments will be included in the official minutes of the meeting. In her comments at the last board meeting, Councilwoman Weber somewhat begrudgingly acknowledged the public's right to speak at privilege of the floor. Of course, free speech is an important issue, but I think the board's focus should be on a different clause in the First Amendment. The petition clause, which creates the right to petition government for redress of grievances. The petition clause allows the public to convey their concerns and request action. So when residents are here to speak at privilege of the floor, we're not just here to complain. there's real grievances that we're asking you to address. Look, if you look at some of the recent comments made at Privilege of the Floor, you can see that they all contain a request for action. John Lemelin wants an ethics code that's enforceable. Amy Hawansky and the residents along Whitmire Drive want the town to minimize the impacts of the wastewater treatment plant. Lorene Zabin, who is here tonight to speak about Metroplex, is frequently here asking the town to limit bonding. These are legitimate requests of our government officials, even if you take issue with how the requests are made. At the last meeting, it was generous of you, Councilwoman Weber, to give out your cell phone number to provide additional access to town residents. However, a private telephone call is never going to replace privilege of the floor. The transparency of conducting the dialogue in public is important, so there's a public record and full accountability. With the issue of accountability in mind, I'd like to revisit the public comments made by members of Progressive Schenectady on June 11th, July 9th, and July 23rd. In their comments, they asked the elected officials here to take action regarding dishonest and inappropriate behavior by Councilwoman McGraw. As you know, she administered a Facebook page that purchased and posted false ads about Progressive Schenectady. When confronted, Councilwoman McGraw alleged that her Facebook account was hacked. If there's any question about whether or not this issue is related to town business, the question was answered by Councilwoman McGraw herself at the June 11th board meeting, when she admitted asking the town attorney for legal advice on the issue of how to deal with her allegedly hacked Facebook account. If the members of this board are dismayed and disappointed at how personal our comments at Privilege of the Floor have become, here's what I can tell you. It's impossible to question a board member's honesty and integrity and not have it sound personal. The honesty, credibility, and integrity of our elected officials is directly related to the quality of our government and should therefore always be an appropriate topic at Privilege of the Floor.
Thank you. Privilege of the floor is still open if anyone else would like to speak.
My name is Elmer Birch. I live on Orchard Park Drive, 2097. I just want to make some observation. I think tonight there's going to be discussion about having Metroplex take on responsibilities that there's talk of what are they called? I'm going to say vampire. What are they called? Zombie. I was close. Zombie houses in Niskayuna.
Mm-hmm.
In a letter to the editor to the Gazette, I noted that this is something that Metroplex already has the authority to do in the city of Schenectady, and it has not done at all a good job. So to be sure, those are generally less wealthy and more racially segregated communities where the work is not being done by Metroplex. But I think it's an indictment of the newspaper coverage of this to have made no mention of the fact, while speaking about what could happen with Metroplex taking over this responsibility in Niskayuna, that Metroplex has said nothing about that, the fact that they will take over this responsibility, nor was there anything saying, and let's look, they're already doing this. How well are they doing this job elsewhere, i.e. in the city of Schenectady? And it's an indictment, I think, of of Metroplex and the way it's going on. I think it's also an indictment of the newspaper. If it's considered an appropriate newspaper report to mention what could be without pointing out, well, there's nothing demanding that anything occur other than Metroplex, which is now not authorized to operate in all of the town, would be authorized to operate anywhere in the town. Now, Metroplex, I don't want to go too far into the weeds, I guess, but there's something called pilots, PILOTS, which doesn't stand for any particular airplane, but it's payment in lieu of taxes. And it's a huge number of pilots that are awarded by Metroplex, by the City Industrial Development Agency, by the County Industrial Development Agency. And then when it was ruled that not-for-profits couldn't be through those, that there's the Capital Investment Corporation. In each case of those, the County IDA, Industrial Development Agency, and the one that's for the not-for-profits, such as Ellis Hospital and Union College, the membership are all elected Democrats. So, Gary Hughes is chair of both of those. In addition to which, Chris Gardner, who is a county attorney, whose previous position was as chair of the Democratic Party in Schenectady County. Of course, somebody else who held that position prior to Chris Gardner was Gary McCarthy. And incidentally, I have campaigned for Gary, and I'm all for a lot of these things, but I do think that the public really should know what is, the voters should know what's going on. I used to do a program on Access Television, which nobody watched, which was
Paul Briggs was on it. Come on, we watched it.
I'm going to do it again, and I'm
Good.
starting
I'm glad to hear that.
tomorrow, Wednesday. I'm recording the first one. And what I do want to talk about, which is just, let me wake up when this is over. It's so boring, but it's about boards, about pilots. It's about, if you don't know what the hell's happening, then it's going to happen. So that the authority's budget office trips over everybody's tongue, right? Everybody's big on the authority's budget office, but they oversee the things like Metroplex, public authorities.
Right.
You have the Housing Authority, the Thruway Authority, the Metroplex Development Authority, the County Industrial Development Authority, the City Industrial Development Authority, all of them giving tax breaks and, under pilots, payments in lieu of taxes. And those may be entirely appropriate and a very desirable thing to do. But the public and the people who are voting should know about it. And it's not presented. As a matter of fact, I've just gotten a report from the authority's budget office on all the pilots that have been given in Schenectady County. It is huge number. And I'm pleased to report utterly unintelligible. Thank you.
Is it green talk again?
Thank you.
Yes, it is.
Good.
It's still Green Talk.
Very
and
good.
I wish the Green Party were to run on some more local things rather than all these global things. So, thank you.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Leslie Gould, 1919 Pawtucket Avenue. I will reiterate my opposition to the so-called, because I really think it's a misnomer, community choice aggregation, because the plan, since it's opt-out, it relies on people not catching on to the fact that they have the right to get out of it. And I know some people wonder why anybody would be opposed. Well, not all alternative forms of energy are really that clean. At least not if you like birds, which the wind facilities are really killing in massive numbers. So I don't want energy that comes from that. Real simple. I also know a lot about some of the alternative energy companies because I had friends who worked for one, and there were a whole number of employment issues, including not being paid. And, oh, you're really doing good things for the community, so you should volunteer some of your time, that kind of stuff. So I don't have a whole lot of faith in the alternative energy industry, and other people have concerns too. I am still reluctant to see the Metroplex boundaries expanded to the entire town. I am very pleased, however, that at least we've got something in writing that we expect them to observe and follow and stick to our zoning, because that never was part of the original agreement, and even though I had argued way back then that it should be.
And thank you for your input on that resolution.
A couple of real simple practical matters that are much harder to solve, but perhaps a reminder on the website to people that when they walk their dogs, they are totally responsible for cleaning up after them. And just because a homeowner has a dog of his or her own, doesn't mean it's okay to let your dog leave things behind. Because I'm really getting very annoyed. I think I know who it is, but I can't prove it. And I'm frequently getting deposits that we don't want. And it's not just a matter that's annoying to the homeowners, it's that it's really a health issue, because if your dog's got something,
It's
a
not the
wonderful
first
way to
time this
spread
has
it.
come up. You know that over the years, Lorene, you know that. That's not the first time we've discussed this at that podium. So thank you for raising it again.
And regarding speeding down little streets and all, I think it's pretty much town-wide. I know my street's only 2 blocks long, barely 2 blocks long. We have speeding, we have people throwing their trash out on our lawns. I'm sure my neighbors are as sick of it as I am, but I don't know how you solve it, other than to ask people to please be more considerate and obey the laws.
Thank you. Privilege of the floor is still open if anyone else would like to speak. And last call on privilege of the floor. If you would like to speak, do so now. Seeing no one left willing to speak, I'm going to close privilege of the floor. We're now going to move on to our committee reports. We're going to begin with Councilwoman Weber.
Thank you, Ms. Supervisor. I'm going to begin by just taking a minute to address some of the comments that former Attorney Hess has said. I did preface my remarks last month by saying that people do have the First Amendment right to comment on whatever they would like at privilege of the floor. That's totally fine. I do encourage people to come to privilege of the floor. I encourage them to participate in our government, and I like to hear what people have to say. I do prefer when the topics stick to our government work that we do have before us. We tend to have a lot of important business relating to our local government in front of us. That being said, I'd like to just provide a report from our Community Programs Committee. We had a wonderful summer here in community programs, and I am always sad to see our summers end. I'd like to first congratulate our Niskayuna Wild Turkeys swim team for earning the title of 2009 Suburban League Championships. That's quite an accomplishment, and we're very proud of our swimmers, divers, and coaches. Last week, we ended our season of camps. We filled our Harry Potter and Amazing Athletes camp, both sellouts. Our August 10th Niskayuna Farmers Market at the Co-op was very successful. We had additional produce vendors, and all our slots were full, and we had a steady flow of visitors. Our next farmers market morning is September 14th from 8:30 to 11:30. This has been a very successful program and a terrific example of how government, business, and residents can work together to create something very positive for our community. We finished our concert at the Gazebo Series, which is a lot of fun this summer. I would like to thank all the community businesses who donated refreshments for the attendees to enjoy throughout the series. After 2 cancellations due to thunderstorms, we're going to try again to host the county movie night here at Town Hall tomorrow, 7 p.m. We had our first 55-plus dance party August 16th at the Recreation Center. Over 70 people attended that. We had a volunteer DJ and staff from Dance Fire who came to lead dances. This was a great event to add to our summer programming, and we're looking forward to doing it again. Looking ahead to the fall, we have fall soccer for pre-K and regular beginning Saturday, September 14th. We have very limited openings for kindergarten, second, and third grade and middle school. We're still looking for 2 more coaches for middle school teams. If you know anybody who wants to coach, let us know. We have our fall fun run coming up September 21st. You can register on our website. We've got a 5K, a 1 mile, and a 100-yard dash. We're meeting again for community programs September 3rd, next Tuesday, 3 p.m. in the Schaefer Room. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We're now going to move on to Councilwoman McGraw.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. As everyone knows, I chair both the Public Works and the Highway Committee in town, and tonight I'm also going to pinch hit on the Economic Development Committee since Councilman Delarada could not be here this evening. We are very pleased that tonight we'll be appointing members to the Historical Committee, in addition to our Zoning Board of Appeals. We're going to appoint a permanent member there. These are great people who are willing to volunteer their time to better our town, and I think all of us are very grateful. I know I certainly speak for Councilman Delarada. We are very grateful to everyone who is willing to give of their time and their energy for our community. There's a number of things obviously going on with that committee and with everything that John and the planning department does. Complete Streets has been very busy in working on a number of items, not the least of which is Knott Street. Everyone by now knows that there's an improvement project proposed by the county as it relates to the stretch in front of the co-op. We are trying to work our best we can in collaboration with the county to and the businesses and the neighbors and everyone to try to make sure that what the money that's spent over there and the project and what we're going to do over there best reflects what the community truly wants and and benefits everyone there. Tree Council, they've been doing an inventory, a very aggressive inventory of trees throughout the town. We continue to work on grants. Laura Robertson, our town planner, has been working with our new grant writer who's just attempting to do the best we can through the state and through other opportunities to secure some grants for the town. Anybody who's driven through the Metroplex, through the Country Club neighborhood has seen that that neighborhood is a beneficiary of a state grant from Assemblyman Steck. It has been a project that we've done in collaboration with also a young lady going for her silver award, Girl Scouts, in trying to help with the speeding and just improve that area of town overall. There's been a lot of conversation tonight about the Metroplex resolution that we are going to consider. Obviously, whether you like the term zombie homes or not, I think everyone can agree we just don't like homes that have been abandoned. And perhaps that word for it isn't the best word, and that's a term of art that's come within the last few years, but abandoned homes in our community are an issue, and we have done a lot of work in that area, and we continue to do work in that area because it is a priority for us. We've got the Cornelius home that we've completely been able to work with Metroplex and the Land Bank, and we'll be redoing that house. We are moving forward, thanks to our new deputy town attorney and the planning department, on a home on Van Antwerp that very embarrassingly, the neighbors there at the Niska Day Parade held up a sign and said, "Please help us. We're helping." And that home is in the process of being condemned, and we are working. That house is one of the last houses, or the last house, in the current Metroplex zone. So the Land Bank and others have been a resource to us as we try to move forward with that. The next Planning and Economic Development Committee is the 6th, Friday, the 6th of September. Public Works and Highway, I can say one thing: the storms this weekend. Person after person who got up today, I've been to their home, I've been to their neighborhood. What we saw last weekend in terms of water, we have not seen in many years in this town. And it wasn't just water, it was down trees. We have folks who had trees that went right straight through their home. It was a disaster in this town. Ray Smith was out 48 straight hours. He was communicating with me from throughout town, from home to home. His team was in coordination with the Public Works Department. There was a sewer issue. We're replacing about 1,300 feet in sewer line over in the Trottingham neighborhood. Again, the overflow of water. We were really just deluged, and everybody here is trying to deal with that. While I say that, I also say that our splash pad is our number one attraction in town right now, rain or shine. And thank you to everybody that made that happen. The Avon Crest sign is completed. And again, thank you to everybody from our attorneys to Public Works to highways to the neighbors to everybody who worked together to get that Avon Crest sign back up into its pristine condition and really the iconic landmark of our community. The dog park has been refurbished. We have just one last stretch of and one last project that we'll be doing with our dog park, where we'll be having a water fountain for the dogs. But we've got new signage. We've been able to refurbish something that was done by a Eagle Scout candidate who moved forward, Mr. Hess's son. That has been sanded and painted, those kind of obstacles for the dogs, but we've added shading and seating, and we've done a lot of things over there, and we're gonna add water over there. Bleachers, there's new bleachers going up at the football and lacrosse field. They're being rehabbed. At the splash pad, we've just added our new, one of the things that I take the greatest pride in is that our splash pad is accessible to folks of all ages and abilities. Everything around it should be as well. We've added additional handicap parking over there. We're going to upgrade the bathrooms to make those as accessible as the splash pad itself is as well. Yard waste pickup continues. It's obviously been very busy, but we're moving forward with that. And I can't imagine I have anything more to say. Thank you very much. I think that's it.
Great.
Oh, and the highways is on the 5th, and Public Works immediately follows that, 7:30 and 8 o'clock on the 5th of September.
Great. Thank you very much. We're now going to move on to Councilman McPartlin.
Thank you, Supervisor Syed. The Town of Niskayuna Police and Public Safety Committee. We met on August 5th. Operationally, we discussed the Peace and Pagoda March at Capel. No incidences there. We talked about our tow list and companies that do towing for the town and pricing and policies with that. Our new patrol cars should be arriving hopefully this month, if not next month, but it's been taking a little longer than we thought. We also discussed park signs. NCAP got a grant for some signs in our park that we're working with them to make them no alcohol and drug-free zones. So the chief and deputy chief are working with them on that. Our fleet and equipment, Matt Yetto reports that we're getting new gas pumps. This is a program that we've coordinated with both Highway, Public Works, Water and Sewer, Police Department, the Fire Department in town to get everybody on the same system. So that's underway. All of our speed signs and electronic boards in our speed trailer are out on our roads, as you heard earlier tonight. People are saying that they're working, and we're continuing to use them throughout the town to try to make people aware of what their speeds are and to keep the speeds down in town. Training. Always talk about training. We have instructor development. 2 officers will be going to that in December. Traffic stop investigation training. We also have 2 officers going to that in October. I want to take a moment here to thank both our police department and our detective division, Bob Carney's office, the DA, the state police, the city of Schenectady police, the sheriff's department. All were involved with the investigation at Hillcrest Village, which I'm sure you're all aware of. And the DA had a news conference 2 weeks ago where he announced there's indictments that were put forth by the grand jury, and all of that was done by the work of all those departments that I said earlier, helping us with the investigations with that incidents there. So we just want to make sure we, all agencies that get involved with these types of things, working together, results happen. Citizen issues, we discussed that, as I said, at my committee. Keys Avenue, speed complaint, Central Jewett, Taurus, traffic and speed complaints there. Balltown and Knowles Road, we got a request to discuss a crosswalk there. That's a state road, so we talked to the people about trying to work with the state and talk to them about the possibility of that. Clifton Park Road, Dean Street and Nod Street, we're hopefully going to be able to work with the county. As you, Councilwoman McGraw said, Nod Street, Dean Street, all of that coming in together with that project for the improvements on Nod Street to see what we might be able to do with the accident rate on Dean and Nod. It's higher than we'd like to see, so we're working that into the plan with the improvements for Notch Street. Community events. There's a food truck festival on September 19th. It was in the newspaper today. That's going to be at the Zenner Road Soccer Park. We discussed our officers being there and security for that particular event. Farmers Market's been very successful for the town. We discuss any issues there. There are none. Town code, talked about chip readers for dogs. This is a device that if your dog or your pet has a chip in it and it gets lost, it's a device that we can use to find out who the owner is and get in contact with them. We talked about the solicitors in town. We're going to be working with the attorney's office, looking into the rules and regulations for our solicitors and the fees that go along with that, and also some rules for our dog park. Court issues, we didn't have any of those. Fire department, they've got a new recruit there. The fire department is also looking into possibility of ballistic vests for some of their officers. They talked to us about some problems they're having with Glencliff School and alarm problems there. And that's it for the fire department. School district, no issues there. And our recruit in the academy is doing well. And our next meeting is, as I said earlier, September 3rd at 8 a.m. right here in the Schaefer Room.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to my supervisor's report, and I do want to reiterate all the comments made about the farmers market that we held earlier this month. It was the largest market that we've had to date. We actually had to add stalls, so it was packed. We had a bunch of fresh produce, so that was really nice to see, just the sheer amount of vendors that came who are farmers. So that was really nice to see. So we're looking forward to another full market in September. I just would like to remind everyone to attend, and hopefully we'll see you there. Furthermore, we're still progressing well through our 2 bargaining unit negotiations. We are negotiating with the PBA as well as the CSCA white collar unit. We have our next meetings coming up in September. And this Thursday, we also have our quarterly safety committee meeting. And that's important because we are able to evaluate where we are on safety for all of our employees here. So we hold that in the highest regard. We always want all of our employees here to be working in safe conditions. So we always make that a priority meeting, and I'm looking forward to hearing again from a lot of our internal staff in that meeting. For the budget, we are midway through our internal budget meetings. So we're having all of our meetings with department heads in concert with our committee chairs as well. So the different members of the town board are sitting in on those meetings. Once those are done and completed next week, we're going to be piecing together the individual fund budgets. So the general fund, the highway fund, water and sewer funds, and the like. The tentative budget is due on or before September 30th. So in terms of timing, you can look forward to that. After that, we're going to have a series of budget workshops as well as additional internal meetings between myself, town board members, so we can have further discussions. The budget workshops, the intentions of those are for the board members to ask questions of department heads should that be necessary, to also discuss all the different funds in the budget. It's basically everyone's opportunity to ask questions in the most transparent way possible. So all those meetings will be here in the boardroom. They will be live streamed and open to the public. An initial budget calendar was posted on the comptroller's tab. We are going to be making a few edits to that budget calendar. So it is posted now. Many of those very important milestones are going to stay true. Some of those individual workshops might change. So we're hoping to post an updated version of that this week. And just as a reminder, the final 2020 budget will be up for a vote for adoption on November 19th. So in terms of timing, that's what everyone can keep in mind. We do have our Niskayuna Food Truck Festival, so thank you, Bill, for bringing that up. I'm very excited, as well as many other residents here. I think at last count, their Facebook page had showed about 11,000 people interested. So if anyone would like to come, I encourage you to attend. It was founded by a Niskayuna local, a great woman that I've had the pleasure of speaking with. On numerous occasions, she's incredibly grateful that the town has been working with her to hold this food truck festival right here in the town at the Zenner Road Soccer Park. So we hope many people attend. We hope a lot of money is raised for that cause. All of the money is going to go to, again, a very great cause, very great charity. And then finally, Councilman McPartlin, you had brought up in your questioning of DA Carney about the swing arm cameras on the school buses. So that's something that I am going to be talking about with Dr. Cosimo Tangora, who's the superintendent of Niskayuna School District, and he has conveyed that he would like to engage in some intermunicipal meetings so we can discuss, whether some other towns surrounding here, what they think about it, do they want to move forward? There's a lot of different moving parts that are going to go into it. It's essentially going to have to be an agreement with the town and the school district on whether we're going to move forward or not. So we don't know if those are going to be in place this school district year, but perhaps next year's school district. And I think that'll go a long way towards encouraging safety here in the town. And that concludes my supervisor's report.
Can I do franchise agreement? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine I had more to say, but can I do franchise
I'm sure a
agreement?
lot of people.
I also want to thank you for accommodating the budget cycle and working through a calendar that I think will work a little bit better in terms of, as you said, transparency and engagement. And thank you for having the committee chair meetings. I think that will be very helpful moving forward. Folks may have seen an email that went out throughout the town. I know there's been some other communication around it. Our franchise agreement, our 10-year franchise agreement with Spectrum, it was Time Warner when we first started this, is due to expire. The franchise agreement, in essence, it regulates, or it just allows them to offer folks in Niskayuna both cable TV and internet service, which many people take advantage of. It is not exclusive. If we had another company that wanted to come in, a telecommunication company that wanted to come in to Niskayuna, we could have as many franchise agreements as there were companies that were interested in offering cable and internet to our community. Right now, we are in the process of gathering comments from the community. We have urged folks to look at the franchise agreement. We have also met with the Public Service Commission, Attorney Briggs, Paul Sebesta, our comptroller, and I have met with the Public Service Commission. Their initial response to us was that we have a very strong and very, very good document that is our current franchise agreement. By and large, we have heard from neighbors who have said they want more choice. They are not happy with what we currently have. We don't regulate, we don't encourage anybody who could have come into town all these years. They have chosen not to. One franchise agreement does not mean other companies cannot come into town. But we are working on that, and we encourage folks to look at the agreement and provide comments to us between now and the second Friday in September. Thank you, Madam Supervisor.
Great, thank you very much. And now we will head into our resolutions. We're going to begin with Resolution 2019-221, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A ceremonial resolution honoring Patrick Frank.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Aye.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-222, sponsored by Councilwoman Weber. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to employ additional employees in the town's Office of Community Programs.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-223, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to authorize this town supervisor to enter into a licensing agreement with Niskuna Lacrosse Club, Inc. for use of Avon Crest Park.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I just want to thank the town attorney's office for finishing up this agreement in time for the season for them. This is, it was very time sensitive. It's an important agreement for us. I want to thank everybody who made it possible this evening.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-224, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to authorize the supervisor to accept a proposal for testing and design services at the landfill.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-225, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to authorize a warrant for the second quarter of 2019 corporate utility rents.
Thank you. Is there an issue?
I'm just making sure that this document is correct. I've
Oh,
had
sure.
a number of conversations about this before we second it.
Mhm.
I've had a number of conversations about the date on this resolution, 225. Are these dates correct? The dates are wrong. On 225, 226. That's, I just wanted to make sure. I knew 226.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Okay. I'm glad I'm not the only person who was confused. Madam Supervisor.
Okay, good. So we're good on these.
Mhm.
Okay. Can I get a second?
Second. On this is 225. Second.
Good. All righty. Is there any
Wait
discussion?
a second.
Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. I'm going to introduce the next resolution that if somebody wants to make a motion to amend. So next resolution is 2019. It is good?
It's good now.
Oh,
Yes,
good.
that.
Okay,
So
great.
aye.
Okay. That's
Thank you, everyone,
excellent.
ahead of time. There's a number of people in the back of the room to make sure that these resolutions are correct. There was a lot that went on. We got them very late. It's been a little chaotic for the last few days, but thank you, everyone who helped make sure that these resolutions in front of us are correct.
Okay, great. So we have Resolution 2019-226, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to authorize a warrant for the first half of 2019 residential and commercial utility rents.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-227, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract with Square, Inc.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Just want to make a note that the giant packet, as you can all see here, was
It's
not,
just-
yeah, it's huge. And this is just one contract. So who actually read through the whole thing? Was that
Hey,
Alexis?
she did.
Thank you,
Up all night.
Alexis. We did not include it in the packets that we put in the back of the room. They were posted online for everyone's full viewing. If you would like to read it, you can. And we can also provide you with a copy if you would like. So please reach out to any one of us if you would like us to provide you with a copy. Are there any further comments? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-228, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw and Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to appoint residents to the Town Historical Committee and amend Resolution 2019-174.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-229, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw and Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution enacting a local law to amend the code of the Town of Niskayuna by adding the new chapter entitled Community Choice Aggregation Program.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Well, we're all very excited to be moving forward with community choice aggregation. It's been something that we've been working towards for the past couple of years, and we're excited about the potential to offer residents energy efficient and economically friendly energy. So we're really excited and ready to go.
Thank you.
And we continue to take the concerns of our residents very seriously.
Thank you. And actually, that's an important distinction because this is enabling legislation, so we are able to join a CCA. It doesn't necessarily mean that tomorrow
Does
we're
not
going to
mandate
be
it.
rolling this out. So there's still a considerable amount of meetings that we're going to be having to A, choose an administrator, B, evaluate, where we're going to go with it, which CCA we're going to choose because there are several. So there still are many more meetings to be had, many more discussions to be had. But that being said, I think it's an important step in the town. And I think it's going to be positive.
Are we going to have another
It is a
public
big
hearing
step.
on the CCA
To my knowledge, no.
process? Okay.
Right.
More input,
public
absolutely.
Yeah, and we'll have to have a resolution to even engage with an administrator as well. Mhm. Yep.
You're stuck with
Yeah.
us, Jeff. That's
Yes, we'll have Jeff here more often. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-230, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw and Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution enacting a local law to increase the boundaries of the Schenectady Metroplex Service District to include all of the town of Niskayuna.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-231, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw and Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to authorize survey work at the town of Niskayuna's River Road Park.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-232, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw and Councilman Delarada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution appointing a person to fill a vacancy on the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Weber, would you like to second?
Yes.
All right.
Is there any discussion?
I just want to thank Ms. McGinnis. She's been a temporary, alternate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals for a number of years now. She's been very engaged. She's been an outstanding alternate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I'm appreciative of her willingness to step up and serve as a permanent member. I'm also remiss that I did not thank the large group of folks who are willing to serve on a historical committee. That's an impressive list of people, community residents who care very much about the issues in our town. So thank you to Ms. McGinnis. Thank you to everybody in the historical committee, our town historian, and I'm very happy to engage all of these people in what is very fine work, the business of our town.
Thank you. Are there any further comments? Without any further comments, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-233, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to authorize payment to Krusak and Company for conducting an audit for financial statements for the fiscal year 2018.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-234, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to make certain budgetary modifications.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-235, sponsored by Supervisor Syed and Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to appoint an accountant.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I just want to thank Nicole for staying to the end of the meeting, but also for her willingness to join us at the town of Niskuna. We are thrilled. Your credentials are outstanding. And when you get Paul Sylvester singing your praises, you know that you are top notch. We are thrilled to have you. You're going to get to work with a very exciting, interesting, and dedicated group of folks within within your department, but throughout the town, you'll get to know people who care very deeply about municipal work. So thank you very much, and we're so pleased to have you join us. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
4 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-236, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to appoint a town assessor.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Well, talk about people we have to thank for being engaged in municipal work. Our town assessor, thank you very much for everything you've done so far. Thank you for your ongoing commitment, as we thank Ms. McGinnis for her volunteer service to our community. You had done that for a number of years on the Board of Assessment Review, and now you are running that office, and we are so pleased to have you here, Eric, and thank you very much for your willingness to continue to serve our community in this new capacity. So thank you.
Thanks. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye, with pleasure.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
I abstained on the first appointment, so I have to abstain again.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes,
3 ayes.
and this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-237, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to appoint a part-time clerk in the town's receiver of taxes office.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I just want to, Jackie Gallo comes to us with rave reviews all over town from all aspects of town. I can't believe how many people know her, how many people have worked with her, how many people are so pleased that she'll be joining us in our town assessor's office. You know, as I always say, our clerk's office and our town assessor's office, those are really our points of contact where customer service and making people feel appreciated and listened to and welcome are so very important. And I know that Jackie Gallo is is just going to fit right into what is already one of my favorite places in Town Hall. So good work, Diane. You found a good one.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin. Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-238, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to authorize the supervisor to enter into a lease agreement with Live for the Cure for the use of Zenner Road Park.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, I would just like to thank our new town deputy attorney, Alexis Kim, for doing a lot of due diligence with this license agreement. We're all looking forward to this big food truck event. And as was said earlier, a lot of people are going to be attended. And with a big event like this, there's just a lot of logistics that need to be nailed down, everything from parking to trash to bathrooms. And she just did a really good job doing a really thorough license agreement to make sure that all the bases were covered and the event's going to run really smoothly. So thank you very much.
I like when she gives us updates of what her mom is saying about what's going on the Facebook page of this group. So she certainly due diligence is the least of it. So thank you, Alexis.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Next resolution, 2019-239, sponsored by Supervisor Syed. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to authorize the purchase of desktop computers.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Why did we leave Lawrence to the end? Did you lose a bat?
We always
Man, huh?
do.
I'm sorry. I take back all the nice things I said about the deputy town attorney. We owe you one, Bill.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. Last resolution, 2019-240, sponsored by Councilwoman McGraw. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to authorize the town to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the CSEA for water and sewer unit.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilwoman McGraw.
Aye.
Councilman McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Weber.
Yes.
Supervisor Syed.
Yes.
4 ayes.
And this resolution passes. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. I will second that motion. All those in favor signified by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? We are now adjourned. Hope you all enjoy your evening. Enjoy the last few days of summer. And for all of those of you returning to school, good luck.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor.